Malawi's newly elected president, Lazarus Chakwera, has dissolved the boards of 60 parastatals in a ramp of reforms that he has rolled out since assuming power at the weekend. The new president has also tasked Vice President Lazarus Chakwera with the role of public service reforms, as many Malawians have lost trust in state institutions and see them as inefficient and corrupt. President Chakwera named his new cabinet on Monday. But conspicuously missing on the OPC list is tax collector MRA, which many have accused it of corruption, fraud and abuse of office. Just a month ago, the Anti-Corruption Bureau legally stopped the tax bull from employing 100 new tax collectors because of the flagging that the soon-to-be MRA employees did not attend interviews. Well, President Chakwera warned of a blitz on corruption, which is estimated to have seen close to 40% of government funds being stolen over the past decade. Critics say that a number of factors contributed to the current state of affairs. They say that there's no clear distinction between a party in power and government activities in Malawi, unlike in established democracies. Malawians on social media have since welcomed the dissolution of the boards, saying that the reforms at some of the state institutions were long overdue. Well, we've asked Malawi University academic Jimmy Kainja to join us via Skype just to talk us through some of the latest developments. Mr. Kainja, thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we had a partial cabinet announcement earlier in the week, but today's news is the dissolution of 60 boards of state entities. And I just wonder, what message is President Chakwera sending out?
I think for the locals, this should have been expected, most likely because 2 days, maybe today now, 3 days into his administration, Chakwera, he's just in calling themselves Chakwera Chirima administration because it's an alliance. But I think they have to set up however they want to work, but the administration is not in place yet. So actually, they're trying to set up 1 or 2, 3 things that they have to wake up with. But what happens in Malawi normally, when there's change of guard, as you may want to understand it, we have new administration, but removing the cabinet or changing the cabinet and then having a new all sorts of boards and what 60. The number 60 basically is about almost all the boards that dissolved in the country. It doesn't make any difference from Malawians, basically, because this is what has been happening. What it means now that on the 3rd day, these guys are trying to set up the tone. This is how we're going to work. Now the country is perhaps on a reset button. Who is going to get in? Who is going to get out? Perhaps those that have been removed would have expected it one way or the other, but we are moving on now. So we should expect Chakwera Chirima administration now to basically move on with their policies that they try to want to do, basically, because they had their own mandate why they came in, and as opposed to what we had previously. Mutalika has been accused of tribalism, nepotism, and whatnot, and all these boards that have been dissolved basically have been accused of that. So the changing of the boards, replacing of the boards, is an act basically towards against what Malawians haven't been impressed with previously, right. And so, I think that's the way forward.
All right. So what does this tell us, though? I mean, is he trying to root out corruption, or is it just a question of I can't trust the people that were in because they were Mutarika's people?
It could be both. It could be both. I think for those that have been removed, they may see this as Mutarika people being moved out and Chakwera Chirima trying to bring in their own people. And maybe for the neutrals, this may be seen as rooting out corruption. But it will depend on how the new people are going to come in, because these, in most cases, are people that are appointed, never interviews, never public scrutiny on who comes in, who comes out. So I think the process on how they recruit the new people is going to be crucial.
Looking at his cabinet, it looks as if he was basically paying back those people that helped him, A, overturn the win at court, and then secondly, those that help him win at the polls.
Yes, you could say that, but then yesterday we had one of the most interesting decisions, perhaps. One of the appointed, so he has so far appointed 5 ministers, but one of them has turned it down on the grounds that he doesn't want to be seen as accepting maybe favors, because it was one of his lawyers during the 2019 electoral cases. So you could say maybe there's that, but that turning down of appointment to into a minister to being Minister of Justice, Monica Msisia, maybe could also contradict that point, that it's not real appeasement, but maybe they are looking for people who could do the job. I think it is too early to judge. It's only their 3rd day in office, but maybe if you think of, he said he will appoint no more than 30 ministers, and there's only 4 ministers in place. Maybe we still have some time to judge yet.
All right, but Chikosa Silungwe is now the Attorney General, and he was part of the legal team.
Yes. Interestingly, Chikosa Silungwe has accepted it. He was part of the legal team. I don't know how now to negotiate that now that Monica Msisia said no. I agree with your point that it's difficult to tell, and I think the Malawians will judge on that, yes.
All right, so what we do now know is that Malawians will take to the streets if they're not happy with something. They've learned a new way to express themselves. And I wonder if this new administration, it can't be business as usual. They're certainly going to have to drive some of these reforms and the desires that the people have. Otherwise, is it likely that they might let him know?
Yeah, most likely. And I think this coalition that has come to power, they have to deliver. And on top of just delivering to Malawians, they also have to think that here are 2 different political parties, MCP and UTM, forming a coalition that have a mandate now to work together for the next 5 years. And I think that's crucial. If they don't deliver, and Malawians basically will stand up. Yet one of the things is that we have now a coalition that perhaps of all political parties in our history, democratic history, have had perhaps the most expectations from Malawians. People expect a lot given the previous regime that had gone out. So they have to deliver. Otherwise, Malawians are up in the arms to basically put them out.
All right. So now, if I remember going back to the days of Kamuzu Banda, Malawi was a very patriarchal society, and so to talk about at least 40% of his cabinet being women, is this a march forward for equality for women?
I think the statement about the number of women in the cabinet, maybe because it's been announced, but we've always had women leading Malawi. I mean, just Banda has been a president. We've had 2 electoral chairs as president. We've had women in the judiciary making decisions. And now we have a Speaker of Parliament in Malawi as a woman. So I don't think to Malawi's really a different society. I get your point when you're thinking about Dr. Banda's society and all that, but I don't think that would be a problem anyway or the other going forward. I think that will be fine.
All right. So Malawi, the second country in Africa to annul a poll. The courts very strong, standing up to the former president. Does this talk about a new Malawi? You've been watching Malawian politics for many years now. Do you get a sense that this is a reset button for the country, and that we're looking at a very modern democratic society being built?
I strongly have this sense that I think as a democracy, Malawi, we are, I think, getting stronger in that sense. And yes, I think we're getting there. Looking at the dynamics, and the most likely, because if you look at, for example, the electoral chairman, Chifundo Kachali, who has delivered the elections, is only 45. He was trusted for the job. And I think if you begin to look at from there, Chilima is young, Chakwera is 65, but then the rest, I think we have a chance. And the majority of the people that are really advocating for democracy are very young. And I think if we pick up from here, we're fine. But history is never fluid just as that. We always have setbacks and whatnot. I don't know what will happen maybe in the next 10 years or that. But as it stands today, I'm very optimistic of the country. So long as democracy end up delivering in terms of development whatsoever.
All right. So nearly 60% of Malawians voted for this new administration. Does that mean that Malawians generally are now united, or is there still quite a bit of work to do? Because you did hint a little bit earlier on about some tribalistic tendencies that might have prevailed before.
Yes, the voting pattern will tell you that southern and maybe southeast of Malawi did not vote for Chakwera and the alliance. I think this is one of the prevailing things in Africa about tribalism and whatnot. But if I were to take back to the name Tonse Alliance, Tonse basically means all of us together. And I think this is what Chakwera was trying to point at the inauguration ceremony on Sunday. He said, I know not everybody has voted for me, but this is Malawi. We're going to work for all the Malawians and whatnot. So I think that he was trying to set a tone on what Malawi has to be. But voting in Malawi has always been the case. What has happened this time around is that the central region, basically, Lilongwe, where Chakwera comes from, Cheu, where his vice Chilima comes from, they all voted for that alliance. And then the northern part all voted for this alliance, but in the southern they didn't. And but in all those parts, including the southern and maybe eastern, all the urban areas voted for the alliance. One of the reasons that Chilima appealed to most of the urban young kids or the youth, one way or the other. So I think the tone set so far, I don't think there'll be any problem in terms of tribal politics and whatsoever going forward.